and essays, her poems and essays about poetry appear in Water Rights, A Slant of Light, and Reflecting Pool, Cothill Press. The Haibun Journal, Comstock Review, Kongo Poets Anthologies, Contemporary Haibun Online, Drifting Sands, Taipashui, Lightwood, Mr. Carr, Stone Poetry Quarterly, as well as Affective Disorder and the Writing Life, Palgrave Macmillan, who is the publisher. She is the poetry guest editor for SUNY New Paltz English Graduate Program Journal, the Shawangunk Review. Her debut chapbook, congrats on that, Lost and Found, is available now. In fact, it just published, about a month or so ago, from Finishing Line Press. For poems, updates, and more, follow her here. Well, not here. There's a link, and perhaps at the end of your reading, you could put it in the chat so people can follow you there. Or on the dystopian hellscape peppered with adorable kittens known as Facebook. Joann, you're up. We are here.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Yes, Facebook. How long will that last? I'm not sure. So I'm going to read from the chapbook a bit tonight, Lost and Found, which is out from Finishing Line Press, or you can get it on Amazon, wherever, Barnes and Noble. And I'm super excited to have it in my hands and to be able to share it with you all. And I know some of you heard some of these poems at CAPS over the years, but hopefully you'll hear something new and hear something new in the ones that maybe are familiar. So I will start by sharing the quote from Mary Oliver that prefaces the book. "Let me abide in your shadow. Let me hold on to the edge of your robe, as you determine what you must let be lost and what will be saved." And that's from her poem, Maker of All Things, Even Healings. I think we need some healings right now in the world. Notes for new writers. Let the only liars you trust be poets. Let what's earthly be afterlife. Mud-caked boots uprooted in spring. Let absence fill you like blue flames until silence devours your margins. The silence of chaos tells nothing, as the silence of everything listens. Like the trees, bear witness. Hold these sounds with outstretched leaves. Can you speak in song? Will you make a picture of God, birthed from your heartthroat, cut from light, carved by breath that blooms in blood? May your body be a poem, furrow and field, everything in between the lines, fresh waters, paths of fallen fruit, rotting sweetly, feeding what grows. This next poem is a poem called Origin Story that was inspired after I'd been reading a lot of Joy Harjo. And maybe you will hear a little bit of that echoed in this origin story. Remember, the last breath should be as full as the first. Know each of your lungs' landscapes. Remember each cut as well as each kiss. Know that every touch on your body marks a path back to love. Remember daybreak and wave break, map points where they burst over and inside your metronomic heart, siphoning shores of that abandoned island. Remember, you are salt and sand, star and seaweed, seed and skeleton, a sound tsunami cresting at the speed of light. Remember that the mother who bore you also shattered. The father that failed you also made you. Your eyes may be bright with a prophet's vision. Your hair may burn pale as the moon, but remember the belly that bred you. The hands that raised you up, skyward, where you could almost reach what had ripened. Taste the air like Eve. who, uncoiling from some cosmic conch, was called wombward from the waves. Remember her voice, speaking in serpentine tongues, how she bled sin to sing you. Her first hymn. Thank you. A lot of this book, not all of it, but a lot of this book deals with family relationships, parents and children, adoption, all of those complicated histories, identities. So I'm going to move into some poems that focus on those themes. This poem is called Taboo. In 34 years, I was born and you died twice. At birth, Catholic Charities sent you to live upstate with silence and faces that look nothing like you. Incubator womb, oxygen tube, jaundice, 4 pounds. I took 7 months to cultivate. In 34 years, I was born and you died twice. In a barn on feed bags infested with mice, my father took you. The jaws of life extricate your silence and faces that look nothing like you. The suckling denied breast still grew. Mothers mourned the empty house's weight. In 34 years, I was born and you died twice. Still, I pick up your unfamiliar voice calling like an old psalm. What's akin alienates. Silence and faces that look nothing like you. One labored, the other raised and gave advice. Only a child of 2 tribes can relate. In 34 years, I was born, but both died twice, in silence with faces that look something like you. The next poem is a haibun, which is a prose metric form, Japanese form that combines prose with haiku. And I blame Tom for all of the haibun that I've written. He got into Japanese forms before I did, and I sort of followed suit. And you know, I really have enjoyed writing in this form, especially when you're wrangling with a lyric poem that's not quite working, and then you have the ability to work it in some of that information into prose and still have a poetic layer to that language, but to have the haiku kind of distill everything and extend the prose, it's a really it's an amazing thing, and it's definitely helped me write my way out of and rewrite some poems. And I know our friend Sean is here, and he's a wonderful haibun writer and editor of the Haibun Journal. Everyone should read his work. This is called Echolocation. My mother gave nothing away, still does. She tried to teach me not to be afraid, though in the dark woods surrounding the 2-story white Victorian lurked all that was unknown. Brush rustle, twig snap, invisible limbs waiting to snatch me back to a home without lilacs, a pet cemetery or swimming pool, a home without memory, where a woman I'd never known claimed to remember me. When July lightning suddenly flickered, scarring the night sky, my mother would stay inside, hide her eyes. I'd run straight to the porch swing, seek open sky, afraid to blink and miss a flash. Both of us holding our breath, everything starless now glittered, raindrops on grass and window glass. Peeper song silenced, heart thunder ready to strike. This next poem is came out in an online journal called Typishly, and I've lived with it for a long time. So I was really pleased after many, many years that it got picked up by the journal. But I don't know. I'm also pleased to have it in the book, and I feel I'm fond of it. I feel nostalgic of it. I don't know. It's interesting because some of these poems I've been working on for years and years. So this poem is called Swimming. The man next door is useful. He mows around our shed in spring, cuts firewood, stacking it smartly for winter. His wife comes outside only in morning, shuffles down the driveway, crossing the road to the mailbox. She is pale as an ocean stone with sand-scraped skin, softened by the circling sea. Now it is summer. Her husband skims the in-ground pool. For hours, he stands over nearly clear water, removing debris. He never stops skimming, skips breakfast, work, phone calls, dessert. The grass grows high against the shed. The lawn stretches lazily as the wind yawns. The mailbox shuts its mouth. It is full of unanswered statements. The man next door skims the surface of the unused pool. He catches leaves, polynoses, Japanese beetles. At night, he dreams of quarantine, black iridescent blotches, Rorschach butterflies floating into white net. Ken, how are we doing on time?
I'm not, I don't know about me, but you're fine.
Are you out of time?
Yeah, no, you know, you're about halfway through if you want to use that as a judge. So, or yeah, no,
Just checking in. Okay. This poem is called How to Stop a Runaway Horse. And it's a true story. They're not all true in this sense. How to Stop a Runaway Horse. Easy now, tell her, your bridled fire. Be calm, but firm. Sit up, tits out, heels down, she's buzzing, but don't lose your balance. Your mind. Find a circle. Bend the neck to slow her legs. Entangle fingers in mane. Find synchronized time. The unbroken horse learns to pull, wants to set pace. Bucks. Bone crack booming under hoof. More hurricane than horse, she is darkening weather. Once she almost broke me, breaking into canter, but my hands, numb and bloodied, held tight. I'm going to jump outside of some poems in the book and read a couple that I haven't read in a while. So this poem is called Estuary, and it was in Water Rights, which was edited by Larry Carr, who's here with us. Yeah, I kind of came across this poem and I'd forgotten about it, and I was excited to find it. So this poem is about the Hudson River estuary. Wide-hipped woman, outstretched for cities of men, the North River shutters off her January jewels, ice shine, shattered smooth by bird strike. Her wave-blown wrinkles sink and fade, fall, then surface, swelling tidal desire. River of mountains, I drink you down like the Delaware, walk you like the waxing Wallkill. I row you like the Neversink. You are my boat. Drowned river, June blooms perennial in tidal petals, floating on February waters. This poem is for Tom. He's still here, I promise. You're going to hear his wonderful poetry soon. And it is called Forecast. The flower moon bewitches waves, lifts surf without strings as white-cap melodies drown sound. We beat the sun for one short walk in lunar light. Meanings tangle up in lines, tendrilled beams blooming arterial. We are bound newly to this world by strange weather. Silver threads stitched together by tides. Learning the geography of scars, anatomy's alchemy, learning the language of riptide tongues. Chasing storm under cloud cover, in darkness bright, I enter the eye and wait. Skinless hands upturned and reaching to touch your torrents, fall to surge, inhale this undertow, become the deluge. I'm going to read another haibun that is not in the book, but I wish that I could have snuck it in, if I'm being honest. We were past that point in the galleys where we could sneak more poems in. So I think, but this is a poem that was in Blithe Spirit, and that just is it contemporary contemporary haibun's journal that it's coming out in? Anthology. Yeah, so it was in Blithe Spirit, which was really exciting, and then they take you know, some of the best from various publications and places, and they're creating an anthology. So I found out that it'll be doubly published, which is incredible. So this poem is called Still Life, and it's for my grandmother, Josephine Agrisitz. And the first time I wrote this poem years and years ago, you know, it was a long narrative poem that might have been something like 3 pages long. And it took a long time for me to have enough distance from it to be able to shape it and rein it in. So Still Life for my grandmother, Josephine. By the time they found the growth, I found it difficult to see you. I felt it growing between us, pressing on my lung too. We never discussed it. Words make anything possible or everything disappear. Once they put you on oxygen, I struggled to breathe. Tubes coiled alongside your deep blue veins etched darkly in newspaper skin. Your body told the story of its daily failures from headline to conclusion, your mind emptying itself of memories. In assisted living, you were sometimes lucid. During those early visits, I'd sit at your nightstand and paint your nails Juneberry red. Outside your studio apartment window, your daughter and I looked on as your sons planted a feeder to remind you of freedom. When winter arrived, the cardinals and blue jays that you'd always loved to watch remained. You'd somehow shrunk down, miniaturized in your oversized bed, billowing blankets, blue and white, a backdrop as close to sky as you'd ever come again, now locked outside of the home of yourself. Brown eyes feast on scattered seedlings, the feeling of feathers. The week before Christmas, I gave you another bird statue. Opening the box, you held the snow-glittered chickadee upside down uncertainly. Turning it over, you held it to your ear, hoping it might sing like the sea. You liked to laugh at yourself and all you could not hear. Your sons sped to you that day, careless of time and weather. It began to snow. We left too late. And I have to thank my salon workshop friends out there in the audience who also helped me revise and edit that final draft. Thank you. It takes a village, truly. I think I'm just going to read one more. And this was in Lightwood. Thank you, Larry. This is called This Poem Needs You. And it's for my friend, former colleague, Bob Singleton, who passed away a few years ago. This poem needs you. This poem needs a day off, a night to itself, with its thoughts, screaming hushed nothings, as it drifts off, God knows not where. This poem needs a new coat to wear against winter and words, a map through snow squalls that bleach meaning from vision. This poem needs a cat that won't stay inside or out, that lives on laps or disappears into darkness, depending on the day. This poem has your eyes, but cannot see where it's going. This poem needs you to tell it what to do. This poem needs you. Thank you all so much for listening.
Well, as Mike is fond of saying, if encouraging and anybody who wants to come off mute and say any more words than all the amazing scroll of words here, Joann, that awaits you on chat, then this is a good moment for that.
Oh, first of all, you read so beautifully. Your voice and the poems, really, really good. It's lovely. And you look,
Thank you.
I swear, you actually look younger. I don't know why tonight, but you look younger.
I feel younger.
Something is going right.
This is the good news we all need to give each other so we can get through
There you
this
go.
crazy world. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Yeah, that was a beautiful reading. I loved especially the poem about the horse and the alliteration with the booming and the bone breaking and so many great poems and great lines, but those really stood out to me.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't ride horses very often. It's been years, but there's a reason why. You know, when they ask you to sign the waiver and not wear a helmet, don't do it. Wear the helmet.
Oh, so we're talking literal bone breaking. Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. All right, well, maybe it's time to move on to the stallion in the stable. I think a few hairs came out.
I'll get out of the way.
Tom. Okay. Intro time. Thomas Festa is a professor of English at the State University of New York, New Paltz, where he has been teaching for the past 20 years. He is the author of a poetry chapbook, Earthen, from Finishing Line Press, 2023, and a study of John Milton's poetry, The End of Learning, Routledge, 2006. Lately, he has been teaching long poems from the European tradition and writing short ones after the Japanese. His own poems, long and short, have appeared in Bennington Review, Blythe Spirit, the Briarcliff Review, Connecticut River Review, Contemporary Haibun Online, the Haibun Journal, Modern Haiku, Presence, and elsewhere. His haibun have received a nomination for the Pushcart Prize and have been longlisted twice for the Touchstone Award. Tom, come and touch us.
Okay, I'll do what I can. Thank you, Ken. Well, thank you all for being here. It's good to see so many friends, and thank you, Joann, for those beautiful poems. I thought, given the occasion, I would begin with a haibun, and one that came to mind because just Wednesday night, Joann and I were in the city, in New York City, at the 92nd Street Y for an extraordinary concert. The English tenor Ian Bostridge did Schubert's Lieder cycle, Winterreise, and it was stunning. It was just extraordinary. And I have a long-standing interest in that particular piece of music, and if you don't know it, that's not really that important for this piece, but I'm sure you all have some piece of music that actually changes you physiologically when you hear it, and this is one of those pieces for me. So the haibun, which appeared in the British journal Presence, is called On the River, and that's the name of one of the songs in the cycle. This would probably have been before the turn of this century. certainly before I moved across the East River to Williamsburg, when, in the weeks that followed, the September 11th attacks so radically changed the quality of city life. Some friends who owned an anxious pit bull were leaving town for a wedding on Cape Cod and needed someone to stay over with the dog. Their place was an illegal 7th floor walk-up in a sketchy building with a bordello in the basement, so I knew I wouldn't want to leave the apartment after dark. But it was on 96th Street, next to Riverside Park, and my friend had amassed a record collection maybe 10,000 strong. While watering the houseplants, I put on an album that caught my eye, Schubert's Winterreise, as sung by Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau from 1966. I'd never heard the Liedercycle before, and I've never stopped hearing it since. When Auf dem Flusse came on, I dropped the watering can and sat down hard on the parquet floor, looking out over the Hudson as the last light in the west began its slow descent. Creeping rhizomes of the rabbit-foot fern, longing and remembrance. This next poem is something I wrote for my daughter, Jude, and it appeared in the CAPS anthology. So it's called A Diorama for Judith. She's just turned 14, just to give you some context. I was looking at two elephants on the savannah, one little and one grown, with their fabled memory, their tools, their songs, death rituals, and art. It seemed trees everywhere were changing. How could the alder shine so bright against the backdrop churn of dark storm clouds? Autumn had just begun, the smell of solvent strong, lights running along the tunnel's length. It was all an anachronism, time's charade, the photo an oasis, a memory pool. Under glass at a red brick hotel in Richmond, capital of a country that never was, you held your cast above night-lit water like a trunk, the swimming pool jade as a polished bookend. These were the seasons of our life together, high-gloss pages casually flipped through, tall pampas grass swaying as we trampled past. I look out and see a stone bridge, framed by branches heavy with the setting sun, and think how I snorkeled up the mud pool so you could drink. Thanks. This next one is also a Haibun, and I'll probably, I think most of what I'll be reading today is in the Haibun form. So I'll stop saying that, but maybe it would be fun to try to figure out which ones are not Haibun. Anyway, this one is written for in memory of my good friend Will O'Hara, and he passed away on the 16th of June. Yeah, I've been working on this ever since. And the poem is called Willow Heron. In brief flashes, forgotten worlds return, dew shine on falling leaves. Just the other day, the way my son said something reminded me of you at his age. Hearing your deep voice come from his mouth took me aback. That air of lapidary intelligence gaining ground in a debate, it was you all over again, Will, wearing your earrings and t-shirt silk screened with empty quotation marks in defiance of God only knows on our first day at university. It's been years since we last spoke. I hadn't even thought of you for a long time. Of course, we had the falling out we were always going to have. I'm unsure why anymore. But then, when the call came from your mom, the day I gave my first lecture ever, Somehow the brain tumor made all the quarreling make sense. Cloudless thunder. Somewhere down the valley, a train sounds its horn. After you survived the operation and the chemo, you joked on my sofa about Adorno's old saw, determined to prove him wrong about poetry being impossible after your own private Auschwitz. I learned first thing today that the friend who'd stayed in my apartment convalescing for 2 months would stay with me no longer, or not again in this world, though I will you now to stay with me as I write this and you pass, ineluctable and silent, this Father's Day. Blue heron lifting from the willow pond, my photos of you blurry. Thank you. This next one I've just learned will be coming out, I think, in June in Modern Haiku. And it's called Antechambers of the Heart. Part of the sky where blue fades to gray, Cooper's hawk. It's passing in a blur, gliding. They migrate alone, females south before males in autumn, males north in spring before females. In the shape of the light between branches, a pattern emerges on the ground reminiscent of the wallpaper in the hospital waiting room the first time Mom went away. Is that a rushing stream or just the sound of the wind through the leaves? Bright crocuses fall out of the underworld, where sky begins. In the foyer of the funeral home, we embrace. It's our first touch, nearly a year before I'll begin life again. The photos of her visible from that suffocating, crowded space torque my innards with a shock of recognition, the incidental regard of the dead. Yeah. This next one is called Echo Lake, and it's forthcoming in what is to be the penultimate issue of the Heman Journal. Echo Lake. Summer solstice, the must of the stolen boat, childhood's flower scent. Of course it sank. Mid-lake, where else? It whispered secrets, smacked of unforeknown possibility, so we took the weathered dinghy from its moorings. That it was night only made the stealth more thrilling. We pushed off from shore and heaved splintery wood against the oarlocks for a few first strokes rowing against each other, making no progress, but agitating the reflection of the strawberry moon on the lake's smooth obsidian surface. Soon our oars struck in cadence. We glided like a water strider. To the horizon's edge, an immense sky splayed with sparkling light above a craggy ridge. Outward we slid till a huge cliff reared up its head and blocked the stars, a giant rising from its workshop to chase after us. The harder we rowed, the slower we moved, as in our panic we realized the hull had begun to take on water. He jumped and I followed. Face turned skyward, I could just barely keep my nose and mouth above the water, but I discovered with a shiver I could tiptoe along the bottom. Measured stride, the living mountain, also made of stars. This one is called Every Road Begins with a Door. And I took the title from the commentary in Red Pine's translation of the Tao Te Ching. So every road begins with a door. Blacksfield blooming. A door stands in the middle, nothing siloed. Wait out the gray day, it'll pass. Though the house grows smaller in the rear view, it isn't diminished, but instead abounds, germinates inside, a hungry angel swinging on your breath. Or the incessant fury of the carpenter bee burrowing into a wooden window frame in that first apartment after the separation, boring out brood chambers to stuff with eggs, cram with pollen for its grubs. Out that window, the Wallkill River. How swiftly the walls toppled one day. Same river twice. Its taut shine, slow and fast. I drive through the old neighborhood in the early spring rain, past déjà vus forgotten. As I pass our first house, the little Cape Cod, the one built of memories, caves in. Today I sweep the ceiling clean of stars, slight the castle in clearest view. Prayer plant, leaves torn from a library book, nib wet with sky. This one is called Rebus. I hang up. In the distance, the snow and stubble-covered Catskills ripple like the haunches of a sphinx. As I gather my books, dark figures huddle around the heating vents on a neighboring building. Brainstorming utopia, a rooftop committee of vultures. Year after year, she brought home from school their colds and, more lasting, their stories. Like the one about the kindergartner, stunted by his mother's inability not to drink alcohol while he was in the womb, who, when asked to identify Picasso on a diagnostic exam, confidently replied, "A kind of potato." Where are her students now? I wonder on my way to class. Silkworm eggs in the fridge, a second opinion on her lesion. This next poem, it treats of the, shall we say, shocking experience of teaching my son to drive. He's 18, and so fully licensed. Look out, everyone. Anyway, this poem is called Learner's Permit. How different the road from the passenger seat of your own car. I'm teaching my son to drive on country back roads, noticing for the first time, despite the familiarity, of the route, dry stone wall speeding past, of green quartzite and gray slate, a black wayside creek breaking through ice, watercress furling along the banks. Pondering why the word harrow shares a root with harvest. I pump invisible brakes, swallow welling shouts. Our conversations keep improving the more we're together in parallel, not face to face, but looking outward, turned inward, each of us briefly given permission to learn. Thank you. Peril indeed, Timothy, peril indeed. So this next one is called Name Tag. Maybe it's an after effect of my week-long fever. Time in this line has slowed so much that every gesture, every look hangs in suspension. As the checker punches in codes and weighs produce, my hand moves as if it belonged to someone else to pass the cloth shopping bags over the conveyor belt to the aisle's end. The bagger is a man about my age, wearing a cap and apron emblazoned with the store logo. Soon, I catch myself staring, transfixed by the meticulous way he has of packing groceries, stacking the canned peaches so they won't bruise the bananas, fitting the carrot fronds so they neither break off nor stick out of the bag. His concentration is total. I remember him from previous visits to the store, always polite and attentive, but never quite able to meet the eye. Always earnest. Always with the utmost focus, regardless of the task at hand. By contrast, his gait is halting, and his jerky movements as he gathers carts from around the parking lot bespeaks a degenerative condition. His reply to my thanks is slurred. As I push my cart away, a young assistant store manager I've never met calls out my name. I turn. "Great job, buddy," he says, grinning. For that moment, unsure whom he is addressing, I dwell at the vanishing point of difference. A tree falls in the woods, making no sound. No one is there and hears it. Thank you. This next one is called Gone, and it also is coming out in the Haibun Journal. Just from the vantage of talking about revision and thinking about writing and the relationship of writing and true stories to revision and thinking and poems taking on the life that is their own. This went through a lot of different drafts, some of them written, some of them, I guess you could say, imaginary or ideational. And at any rate, here it is. So it's called Gone. As the snowfall slows, I sip coffee by the living room window and wait for the man to emerge from the van. Nothing's stirring under the thick quilt of white powder in the moonlight. Staghorn sumac, droplets of heart's blood drying on pond ice. The panel van belongs to a first aid supply company. We've watched the man for the past month. He drives off by sunrise and returns after dark. Wanting to do something for him, but never quite able to figure out how, on the day before Thanksgiving, we debated whether to leave an envelope on the windshield. Most nights, the small square windows on the van's barn doors emit a dim glow. I return to the essay I've been marking. Troubled by the carelessness with sources, I make a marginal note about the importance of ethical citation. At some point, I look up and realize I must have nodded off. The van has vanished, leaving no trace in the snow. A sagging roof with just so much give left. Roadside alms. And I think I'll finish with this poem, which I wrote for Joann on her birthday. I try to write her a poem every year for her birthday, and well, it makes more sense than trying to bake her a cake. Let's put it that way. But that doesn't mean it will be as pleasing as even the failed cake might have been. At any rate, this poem appeared in Blithe Spirit, and it's called Larkspur. Poison flowers flash their flames of indigo and pink. To go where the brook's long tongue whispers sweet nothings, and the mountains tell the slow truth, that was your call to me. I look out at you now from the whirl of grain in the stained wood, the pattern left by the year's passage, sanded down. At the first glimpse of your freshly dyed russet hair, like it was yesterday, it comes to me how I began to imagine being with you so many years ago, when seasons changed. As a first fallen leaf blushes by, a roar from the shadows overcomes me. Frost on a wooden bridge, heedless stillness of the whooshing stream. Thank you all.
Yeah. Wow. As before, anybody wants to unmute, demute, whatever kind of
Beautifully
mute you
done,
want to
Tom.
take yourself off of,
Yeah.
and have any comments here. But Tom, such polished work, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Master of the high bun too. Oh my God.
Well, I prefer to see myself as an apprentice, honestly, but thank you.
I
Yeah,
love the poem about teaching your son to drive. It brought back the memory of when I finished undergraduate school and my best friend was going to teach me to drive in a Volkswagen Bug. And it took a month and it was horrible. And he said, I did learn to drive and I got my license. And he said, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
Love that poem too.
The Willow Heron poem made me cry, literal tears. It was so moving, so powerful. Like, wow, what a beautiful tribute to your friend. And the poem that you wrote for your daughter about the elephants. I painted a picture of a grandmother elephant and a baby elephant, kind of in silhouette on the African savannah for my granddaughter, and I wrote on the back, "Never forget how very much I love you," and she treasures that. So it really brought back that symbolism of the elder elephant and the young elephant and all that we have to pass on and share. Really moving.
Oh, thanks so
that was
much.
really well
Really
said.
beautiful, really beautiful.
And
I thought
Tom,
it
don't
was
That
forget,
great to
was a
see
poem
it.
unto itself.
I love the poem about the bagger.
Yeah.
You and the bagger. That was wonderful. I love the ending that, the name is called and you don't know who he's addressing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tom,
I
don't
thought it-
forget to put the link to the book or books up in the chat.
Yes, please do.
I thought it was great to see a couple read sort of together. I mean, bouncing off each other, whatever. It was really great to see and hear. Well done. Great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lenny. Thanks for being here.
Cheers.
Okay, to complete the trilogy, here's Julian's bio. Julian Matthews is a mixed-race poet from Malaysia. He was nominated for the Pushcart Prize by Dreamcatcher magazine, Stairwell Books, UK in 2022. He is published in the American Journal of Poetry, Beltway Poetry Quarterly, Lothlorien Poetry Journal, Live Encounters, and New Verse News, among other journals and anthologies. He stumbled upon a creative writing workshop by accident about 8 years ago. That happy accident has turned into a rabid compulsion. He is still extricating himself from the crash. If you wish to support his recovery, please send him Wordle answers at, and once more, there's a link. Julian, you are now tasked with including in the chat to get some people to follow you at any time, before, after your reading, but we look forward to finding ways to keep in touch. Yeah. So no more ado here. Julian, please.
Hi. Thank you, Ken. Thanks, Tom and Joan. May I share screen? So I am from Malaysia. Let me get this going. So I think you're all familiar with this screen. Every time they ask you to verify whether you're a robot, and I can never remember whether it's when they say click traffic lights to click everything about the traffic light or just the traffic lights.
Yes.
So I wrote a poem about it. How many ways can I prove to you I'm not a robot? So the internet wants me to prove that I'm not a robot again. It gives me a set of square options and asks me to please click on image that contains bicycle. So I spot a bicycle, click another bicycle, click, wait, there's only one wheel in here. Is that a unicycle? But it says specifically bicycles, not unicycle, not tricycle, not motorcycle. I'm a detail-oriented man, and I'm very specific about getting clear, specific, unambiguous instructions which demand clear, specific, unambiguous replies. But that image only has one wheel. And wait, the earlier one I clicked on had two bicycles. Bicycles, plural. The question says, click on bicycle, singular. Are these trick questions? I'm wary of trick questions, so I click verify and the page refreshes. I fail the test. But phew, it gives me a second chance. Now it says, click on image that has a traffic light in it. I'm not a robot. I know a traffic light when I see one. But wait, first bicycles, now traffic lights. Was this test designed by someone from the DMV? I haven't been so stressed since my driving test years ago. And back then I was more stressed about parallel parking. Traffic light, click, traffic light, click. Wait, is the traffic light pole considered part of the overhead traffic light? I suppose so. Click, click, click. Wait, is the shadow of the overhead traffic light on the road considered traffic light? Well, there would be no shadow if there was no traffic light. Is this an existential test? Damn it, this is so vague. I'm a detail-oriented man. I'm very specific about getting clear, unambiguous instructions which demand clear, specific, unambiguous answers. I click verify and get kicked out. Damn it, I just realized I was kicked out by a robot deciding whether I am a robot or not. How ironic, how judgy, how utterly ridiculous. The fact that I'm flunked out your test, you silly DMV reject robot, is proof enough that I'm human after all. Hey robot, if you gave me pictures of 9 presidents and asked me to click which candidate can actually do the job, I would click skip and move on. I also know what a bicycle is, you silly robot. I not only know how to identify a bicycle, I know how to ride one as well. Can you? And I can identify a traffic light when I see one. I know red means stop, green means go, and yellow means go faster. That's my choice. That's my prerogative. That's being human, silly robot. Being human is about taking risks. Being human is about making decisions, good or bad. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we run a red light and cause accidents. Sometimes we hurt ourselves. Sometimes we hurt others. Sometimes we fall off our bicycles and scrape our knee and it bleeds and it hurts. Sometimes we ride our bicycles home in the rain. Some days we ride so hard we can't tell whether it's raindrops or teardrops on our cheeks. That's being human, silly robot. But you'll never know. You can't even give clear, specific, unambiguous instructions that demand clear, specific, unambiguous answers. I refresh the page and it says, you have reached your verification limit for today. Please try again in 24 hours. I get off the internet and gripe to my wife about the robot. She says she's just discovered she's been driving around for the last 2 months with an expired driving license, and she can't renew it online. I must drive her to the office next week to renew it. I'm a detail-oriented man. I'm very specific about getting clear, specific, unambiguous instructions. I nod approvingly. I'm not a robot, after all. At least someone appreciates this human. I touch my face to wipe away the tear that isn't there. End poem, thank you. I like to write about inanimate objects, and here's one about a vacuum cleaner. Clean break. I miss your low drone, your no-nonsense business-like growl. Ready to pounce on quarry under the couch or stick your slanted mouth to seize prey huddling in their crevices. The web they weave in high places. A wedding gift that the marriage outlasted, you soon lost your breath. Age takes its toll. The game less tempting. You coughed and sputtered in protest, your wheels dragging. You even shocked us once, and we finally got the message. You had swelled up and emptied once too often, maybe. The world has gone bagless since. Robots scour your hunting grounds now, solo and unmanned, ignoring corners, getting snagged on rugs, infuriating cats. In the end, consistency matters. That steady routine every weekend when we worked in tandem as a team to rid our tiny world of our tiny mess. Your box in the storeroom sits empty now. The snap of your power cord no more. Your efficient hum, a distant echo, leaving a vacuum in our hearts that no other sucker will ever fill. Thank you. This one's called Fan. I need you like I need WD-40. I want to lubricate these rusted feelings for you that I no longer trust. They creak inside me like the cranky fan that I am, sounding screechy now and again with every whirl of my wounded blades. But I respect your boundaries. Any closer and I'd speak out a turn, cut you up. Do you know we fans always rotate anti-clockwise, generating airflow downwards to cool you down? If it were the reverse, I'd suck up the warmth from you and spread it evenly around this room. The world would be a better place for it. I hold space for you, from ceiling to floor. I observe you from above like an ignored deity, blowing longings from my permanent perch. Sometimes you turn me on and turn me up. You're burning all over the night is a furnace you strip, hot air rises, heat is exchanged, and I lose my cool. Everyone needs someone to watch over them. You look up, see me, and I feel seen. Your hair flutters, eyelids shut slowly and drift off. Love is never a transaction, but with you and me, it's a win-win relationship. Will you ever tire of my spin? End poem, thank you. This is called, a short one, Origami. Your skin is papery, white, malleable. Perhaps with the right creases, you could be a bird, still, unflappable, a blank page, lines unwrit. Yet you do not fit into any oblong, A4, letter, legal, plain, a complicated fold maybe. It would take a book to explain. A page ripped from a journal, crumpled, tossed in a bin, begin, again, recreate. What are we all if not books on a shelf, sometimes leaning on each other, sometimes standing alone? The great librarian never labeled us, and yet we all find time to stick labels on each other like dewy-eyed decimals, unboxed, unwrapped, stamped, stacked, yet to be discovered. The lucky ones, borrowed, turned, read, returned. The unlucky ones, shelved. We read to know we are not alone, says C.S. Lewis. We write to belong to the unknown. End poem, thank you. This one is called Vesper Flights. It's after an article by Helen MacDonald. I read about how some migratory birds crossing vast oceans nonstop can catch sleep in mid-flight. Just snatches here and there and only at night, sometimes with one eye open to prevent collisions. Isn't that how many of us lead our lives, under pressure, trusting the wind to carry us, letting the air catch our breaths? Maybe we just need to land and rest a bit. I left the sky because your blue was overwhelming. Yet I still hear your cawing in the distance, this constant pecking for mealworms under bark, this incessant annoying tweets on my shoulder, this furious fluttering, poking at my eyes, sucking my tears up like nectar. I am my own prey now. I tuck my head under my own broken wings and let these talons dig deep into this unworthy flesh. I am evolving, flightless. I'm more earthed now, a groundling. I'd rather crawl into my own skin than feather this empty nest. Yet you say it was always about me. I say, maybe. Happiness is a selfish thing with strings attached. You give in order to receive. They take and take and take until we both break. Some gifts are better left unwrapped. They are flying lessons in paper planes. We rise and fall, crash and burn. You fight the flow and then eventually learn to let go. Truth, yours and mine, like currents, can part in separate directions. Acts of faith can't be taught. They come late in flight. Being selfless doesn't come naturally to me. I need to find solace in other lost souls first. Only those who seek will be found, they say, but even amateurs can be profound. It may be a while before I can rise above it all, go high, crest the night sky, shut both eyes, and trust the wind again. Perhaps I'll meet you there, on mended wings and a final whispered prayer. End poem. Thank you. This is called The Box. It's a new one. It's after Vasco Popa, a Serbian poet, translated by Charles Simic. The box is heavy, but I hold on to it anyway. When younger, I used to be able to heave it in the air in a single movement like those clean and jerk weightlifters at the Olympics. You get a grip on either side, take a deep breath, then up it goes, onto the shoulders. I could even swing it above my head if I so desired, no one to judge me or ask me to lower it for my own safety. I'm too old now to do this without maybe pulling a muscle or snapping my spine, but I treasure the box. And I've added to it over the years with keepsakes and heartaches, broken dreams and shattered schemes, unfulfilled potential and the hopelessly sentimental. Through the years, I've emptied my pockets of maybes, what ifs, if onlys, and placed them safely in there. The could have, should haves, and would haves have filled every corner. It's stuffed with never enoughs. I can't take the box anywhere anymore. It would exceed my baggage allowance on any flight. Besides, it's not good company nor something you can bring up in conversation either without being dissed for hanging on to it for so long. I often find myself peeking inside, reminiscing only to slam it shut and walk away. If I should lose the box in a fire or flood, it'll be a total write-off. I can't insure it against any disaster or ever get back what's lost forever. Maybe then I may not even miss it. Or you. And the last poem for tonight. Thank you so much for having me. Calling All Poets series. Yeah. Thanks, Mike and Ken. This is called The Bell, the Mug, the Shoe, the Bookshelf, and the Armchair. Only because I couldn't come up with a title. The bell, the mug, the shoe, the bookshelf, and the armchair. I no longer believe in romanticized love. I believe in kindness and honesty and moral compasses. Love is too ephemeral. A shape-shifting cloud, a faceless shyster. I'd rather the consistency of a church bell. Its clapper swinging from side to side, each strike, each ring, announcing its presence, a repeating refrain, calling out character. I hold dear the cracked mug that can take the heat of morning coffee, afternoon chai, or evening's hot chocolate, serving soul balm with the calm of a chalice. I relish the comfort of old sneakers, protective and elevating despite this old baggage of flesh and bone, a pair to bear the cross of my weight as if anointing my flat feet with their swoosh, their trainer soles, their laced tongues. I admire a sturdy and straight bookcase, its selfless shelves that hold up the chosen collective. Not unwilling to take on more, nor judging me less for unturned hardcovers, the unread paperbacks of storied lives, knowing words within are to be savored, not belabored, and there's always time to catch up. I praise the favorite armchair, the pew, the park bench, any recliner or unlofty throne that provides the briefest respite from the hubbub of the masses, the dub-dub-dub of mediocrity, the chatter of white noise, the clatter of slammed doors. In short, I'm a believer of endurance, of faith, forgiving, and the faith that an affection that just is, neither fishy nor foul, not dodgy emojis, nor needy howls. A bell for whom no one takes a toll. A cup that has no need to run it over, weary feet that need no binding, a shelf that will never be shelved. A chair that has legs, ordinary things that are self-aware, giving, receiving, abiding, and just being there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Julian, always.
Woo! Nicely done. Nicely done.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody will have anything to say, given probably everybody's speechless.
Yes.
Here we are.
This is why I showed up, because Julian is just masterful. You're so masterful, Julian. I love the way you just twist your words around and have fun. You have so much fun in your poetry, playing with ideas and words and simple objects that we just kind of take for granted in the periphery of our lives, and then you bring them out and give them a whole life of their own. It's so cool.
And
Yeah.
Julian, where do you live?
I'm in Malaysia.
That's in Central Jersey, right?
Just north of it.
Yeah, how long a drive is that?
Would you ever consider coming here?
Yeah, if you're paying for the ticket.
Well, we'll try to figure that out, because a live poetry reading with you would be absolutely stunning.
Oh, thank you.
I will tell
Absolutely
you
stunning.
that Julian has a poem that changed me as a human being when I heard it. The Malaysia airplane poem. I don't know which one, Julian.
Yeah, I didn't want to
the
read
flight
it
that went
because
down.
today is March 8th, which is 11 years since the plane went missing.
Mm. But the poem is just a stunning, like take your breath away piece that you just aren't the same after hearing. So I think your money would be well invested to buy the ticket. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Julian, if you want to trade citizenship, I will.
Yeah.
You fly here, I'll fly there, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Julian.
You'd be braver than me. Okay, so open mic time. So a few things. We have upwards of 20 readers. So I think we're going to want to limit this to, let's say, like one normal poem, or if you write shorter, 2 short poems, or if you write really short, like Bob Heman does, you can go for 3 if the spirit moves you. I'm also going to announce some of the readers as they come up ahead of time, so you can kind of get ready and prepare, and Mike can find you in the moment to bring you on stage. And there we go. So I'm going to announce the first 3 readers. First is going to be John Martucci, then Diamond C, and then Lenny Dellarocca. So while John is out there somewhere, yes?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go. Perfect start. Take it away, John.
Okay, I'm going to read 5 haiku. Stripped of all their leaves, branches shiver in the wind to winter's wild laugh. Wind shakes the branches, stars blink in celestial code in between the leaves. Coming attractions, pussy willow's 1,000 tongues wagging about spring. Wind strikes up the band. Green leaves begin their rain dance. Sure enough, it rains. Leaves shake on the trees. Redundant wind chimes tell me it's a windy day. Thank you.
That was great, John, and a really nice counterpoint to the readings from Julian. And also let me remark that, and I meant to say this while we were in the afterglow of Julian, of how Joann, Tom, and Julian just created a nice, a nice amalgam of poetry and tone and style. So making for the evening. Diamond, let me know she's not reading. So Lenny, there you go. You're up.
Okay. This is, I look at I have my phone every morning with coffee, and I go through the Google stuff, and I see these articles that pop up, and every once in a while I say to myself, that looks like the title of a poem, and I think I'm going to write it. And this is what happened. The news article was called "American Harpist Performs the Oldest Song in the World in Ancient Greek." And that came from something called Greek Reporter back in July of 2024. And so, sort of stream of consciousness, I just took that title, put it at the top of the page, and just started writing, and then tweaked it and all whatever. I'm not going to tell you a story about someone neither of us know. I'm going to talk about the time Jake was in bed with a girl too young to have been there, but was. The day I waited outside the door, thumbing through her mother's occult magazines. Then Jake and I walked out to a stunning afternoon through a neighborhood of palm trees and stucco houses, carports with Chevys in them. I'm going to tell you about the empty lot, not a tree in it, how it glittered with broken glass, fluttered with scraps of sun-bleached newspaper, about a bike halfway to extinction in the weeds, and about a man who stood there dressed like a Scotsman playing bagpipes, stood there like a ghost come back to haunt a house long ago torn down. But who ever heard of a ghost playing bagpipes? Who ever heard of a man standing in an empty lot dressed up like a parade was coming? Jake and I stood there in a psychedelic time, and the Scotsman kept playing, blowing into a tube, squeezing the bag. Maybe he played Danny Boy, or It's a Long Way to Tipperary. Maybe he was practicing for a festival that appeared and disappeared like something out of Ray Bradbury. This is a story of a bike in the weeds, broken glass, symbols in a magazine, the story of a girl on the other side of the door.
Yeah, really nice.
Well done.
Okay, great. So Lenny, that's your good normal size poem. Yeah. Did you have a short one to follow, or are you good?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to announce the next three. Linette, and after that we'll have Tim Brennan, and after that Larry Carr. So Linette, I hope that was a bit of enough of a heads up for you to come on board here.
Hey, good evening. I'll do two short pieces. The first one is called Purpose. I am your daughter. I am your son. Yet I am the one who stands alone. I do not fear. I do not stop, even though my heart has a gray spot. I need to rise. I need to smile. I need to walk a mile in pilgrim style. My ears are turned. My soul is hurt, but I can't stop because while I'm alone, I still have a purpose to fulfill. That's the first piece. And the second piece is called A Broken Soul. There is no consolation for those incarcerated by the isolation in their minds. Their mystic prison cells, the attic in their heads, drastically unfit. Septic human condition, ancestral conviction, or prophecy revelation. repelling other beings, broken parallel rhythm, segregated thoughts, severed human ties, the tawdry affairs of in the mind, a broken soul. Thank you.
Nice, Linette. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Mr. Brennan.
That me?
Yep, Tim.
Sorry, my audio. Okay, is that me? Hello, Barnyard Felicity in question. First, a monopoly on special invitations. Then she's taken away. Frontal and guttural alliances are remade for the getting over, for getting under the skin, the knife's grandeur. They take him out back without a straw mat to suck on. All dreams ordered to cease, portraits to replace faces in the mirror, bells pressing on so many shoulders. One attempts to work with this unlevel ocean of displacements taken aboard. Give up the backslide to the snakes in the garden shed, who eat his balls and clubs, and the dead butchered in the cold wind that blows through gaps in the brickwork. Broad bands of appetite remain endlessly unappeased. Rage is symbolized, he simply said, not to count the bodies. Of broadcast infirmities in high fidelity. Numberless tribes cling to their erasure. They're stuck on that endless, purchased as impertinent impediments and recently discovered kneeling in chains in the chapel of sighs. Meters that measure voltage lie face first against the lullaby. Dreams are bent over an anvil's horn. We wait in line, lesson learning, a scar having fixed this moment in memory. Another voice arrived on Wednesday, badly worked over and left in confusion. Thus is the room partitioned against starting blocks, breaking free after stacking prisoners who early in life slipped out of gear, who learned to bake bread in the holding cells, stood against fire, aimed high for the head, where thought flashed by the thousands in blue on stolen makeshift glass anemones, speaking freely from the desk. This cerebral chainsaw partly undoes the open house and the show tune's malevolence, which late shift workers still dispute in karaoke bars. A lie goes on, sleeps, stops, bucks up, positioned off the graph's long bargaining claw, for or against the tribute we pay to play on Soldiers' Field each Sunday, where she parks and waits for reasoning that never arrives. His left ear fears the consequences, the broken toes, and fingernails lifted for all to see, and what it takes from the soil after years of plowing, where no description can take your place, in line in the sky, hovering, undecided. When Spanish slips through the door, heat and oil make a deal. Occupational rotation has never seen the place where your anger turned to envy, bent backwards as seen from the train, tunneling, trestling, taken in stride by the needle pointing north. Letters sandwiched between toil and its burnt scent, more reassuring than ensuring that dignity be left on the road intact. The place was washed away. Before we left, that row of rusted thimbles filled with iron ore by the road as a tip. A candle in each hand, we swore to the truth of it. Men returned to taunting their pants off in public, pulling down filled coats through the neighbors' yards, scaring the chickens. It was as if the earth had reversed its spin on so many things psychology can't explain. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Got a lot of applause out there. Always love the way you deeply explore the poetry, whether thematically or narratively, and that was certainly no exception. Okay, after Larry Carr, we're going to have Kerry Cox, Bob Heman, and Ron Bremner. And here we up with Larry Carr. Come on board.
Hi, everyone, and thank you. I'm reading one poem from my book called Paradise Loft. And this is called The Comet Approaches, and it's a cautionary tale for the times we live in. The comet approaches. We see your tail exhaling fire, an inverted dragon with eyes stone cold in the face of anguish, barely holding that distant memory of your jailbreak 7 sister states away. You're on the lam, skidding through the outer banks of nothing. The nomads, timeless cries, pierce the pinprick holes of heaven. The immigrant, igniting a Mobius path that holds dark secrets. The refugee, outrunning the firestorm that consumes your every moment. As you come near, we're haunted by your presence. Our walls build up, suspicions grow, marvel turns to dread. You're in our crosshairs. Just in case. Thank you.
Nice. Larry, would you indeed like to say a word about Lightwood and the fact that it is a home for poetry and submissions?
Oh, yes. I have a magazine called Lightwood. It is at lightwoodpress.com. It is a quarterly online, and it's for poets, writers, artists. We do articles, lots of poetry book reviews. If you have a book and someone wants to review it, we can put reviews on it. We just do a number of things. We're going in into our 6th year of doing it. Our 21st issue coming up. Thank you.
And if I were to ask, a number of hands would be going up right now if the question was who has Larry brought into print?
I think probably about half of the people here. But,
there you go.
So I have to do the other hand. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Larry.
Perry, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to read a poem called A Thick Line. A thick line between loyalty and obligation, and it's a thick line between forgiveness and fate. It's a thick line between my palms and my arms where the scar tissue waits. It's a thick line between chivalry and misery, between girls who cringe when you kiss them and boys who never cry, between violence and circumstance, between an orphan and an alibi. The line grows thin as crescent moon between sympathy and sanctuary, the camel's back so close to breaking and the bundles of butchered blessings you carry. The line thickens like braided rope, spun into compass cages, waiting for the unknown soldier to be pressed into a name between pages. It's a thick line of seconds between the lightning and the thunder, the sprinkled salvation on an infant forehead and the wave that pulls you under. It's a thick line on maps, unnatural boundaries that hearts dare cross, between the fear of losing and the actual loss. Between hope and heaven, a trio of 6s and the fortune of 7. Between the right and the wrong side of the tracks, it's a thick line between anticipation and a surprise attack. The crisscross cracks a wire hanger can make in a child's back. It's a thick line between black plastic trash bags and white satin purses. The coins that clang against each other and the paper presidents whispering curses. It's a thick line of God's pencil, etch-a-sketching his will while we wait, tightrope tripping along the wire, and it's a thick, blurry line between love and hate. Thank you.
Very, very nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's a it's an anaphora poem, utilizing a repetition to introduce lines and stanzas, and great development there. So thank you for that.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Bob
Appreciate the
Heman.
opportunity.
All good.
Okay, two short ones. Startled. Startled by the light inside the woman, inside the zebra, inside the maple trees. Startled by the light the river carries to the silo, to the barn that holds the frozen bears, to the orchard where the apples grow too large. Startled by the light that was chosen instead of darkness. Across the water, steps across the water that is no longer blessed, to enter the dark and foreboding, where the whispers become real, and there is no longer a place to dream. Thank you.
And thank you, Bob, as always. And as always, wonderfully imagistic poems and the brevity. How you compact all that is your mystery, and may it remain so. Fantastic.
Thank you.
So after Ron Bremner, who's next? If they'll forgive me, I'm tempted to call this the unholy trilogy of Raphael, Mr. Jurkovic, and then myself. And that's where the unholy comes in. So Ron, you're up.
Okay, and I want to say I was really lucky this past Saturday to be in a workshop run by a woman who has won not only the Walt Whitman Award from the American Academy of Poets, but also the Emily Dickinson Award from the Poetry Society of America. So I really lucked out to get into that workshop. But anyway, this poem is about to be published by a really weird journal called Frazzled Lit. Serenity teaches beauty in a wall of Buddhist sleep. Many go straight to the knowing of why. Fearless sisters of wisdom free the heroes and villains from their magnificent excitement. Strange experiences within are alive and well on earth, despite the second-hand struggles to escape. Wise women and men temporarily defeat their racist past, only to assure a murdered future. Dogs are unique, but not psychic, no matter how much they seem to be, and no matter how much we want them to be. Cambodian street life, Nepali imaginations, Skid Row clerics, all of these give detailed instructions on how to get one's prayers answered. It's been assumed by those more intelligent than I that dying is a trip to divine beaches in Hawaii. But that does not cure the anger that hangs in the air, where we breathe it in and find that we can only hope to be more unusual, entertaining, and valuable than a bee's backside. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that was great. With that, we were all in Hawaii. Okay, Raphael, you be up.
Okay. I'll read two short ones. This one is actually from my book, American Mythology, and Carrie's poem reminded me of it. So I'm just sort of responding to her poem. It's called Not the Thing. Not the thing, but the small diamond of expectation. Not the day, but the slow blooming of light before the wail of sun clears the horizon. Not the loon, but its tongue piercing morning fog. Faint flutter of wing ahead of flight, water waiting before the dive. The moment after lightning, but before thunder. Not the word, but what sets it afloat. Not the puzzle, but the curiosity. Not the question, but the sea of vagary that spawns, not love, no, but your fingers grazing the arm before intention. Not death, but the living multitudinous that leads to it. Not you, but your pillow white and clean. Kind of a strange poem. And I'm going to read a poem that my dear friends here helped me workshop. It's a strange poem too, but it's much pared down. Verbum caro. 1. This is my body, hear the bells. My body where, pierced with a sword, by a word, blinding, rewritten, renewing, falling all the way down. 2. This could be your body, somebody, anybody, the seed, the wheat, the grain, the chaff, the body breached by another body, an accident, a blessing, a curse, tattooed, tendered with a razor, gone missing, nowhere, everywhere, in black and white, wrapped in rainbow, orphaned, scorned, beloved, falling all the way down, loosening. This is my black, this is my brown, my tired, my pale, emaciated body. Too much, not enough. My body without, not a man, not a woman. 3. Hear the bells, losing its mind, rendered unto, given up. This is, hear the bells, my body touching you. Thank you.
Everybody's hands were raised in applause and appreciation. And you're so assured, obviously, your comfort with how well the poem has how it's done and how well it's finished.
And it was kind of a monster in the beginning.
I can imagine, because it's so, it's already, it reads now, it's so layered. So to bring that, to that form, yeah, I can imagine the effort. So well done. Mr. Jurkovic, you are up.
All right. Let's just get right into it. This is a new one. It's all about, well, never mind. It's called Dad's Old Cudgel. As a metaphor for the human criteria suspected since childhood to come crawling from a cave, rice defies gravity. It just does. Whether cooked at home, jasmine, bamba, or ordered in, pork fried, forbidden, makes no diff, no matter. Put a spoon, fork, ladle into grandma's moonstone bowl, and a handful of wild grain gonna scatter to the counter. The floor, your negligee, dad's old cudgel, arboreal, sticky, parboiled sweet, on the wall, stuck to the spoon, the sponge, of course. You clean up, but there's more. Glutinous, short grain, over by the teapot, 6 feet away. Rice on the cat, splashback, wall, Buffy's teacup, basmati, baby, all over the goddamn place. And this one's called The One About the Girl Who Balances, The One About the Girl Who Balances Ecosystems. An echo through Denmark worms into my ear like that song about something from the 70s. Its groove, its beat, its harmonies heard as God's casino welcomes the herd. It is the theme to that show about The girl who balances ecosystems. It prowls like evolution in the back of your ear. It plays in your head. Plays in your head. Plays in your head. Plays at festivals that sell pretty weapons. An echo through Denmark sure gets around. Thank you.
Nice. Okay, well, I'm going to be following that, but after I follow that, what will follow, or who will follow? Stephen Roberts, Amanda, and way back when, Heather Christie Robinson had ponied up, but I don't see Heather here. So unless I'm missing her, John Bartell, or Bartle, as you'll correct me, I'm sure, will be following Amanda Russell. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so one poem, it's called Keep the Horse's Motor Running. My child, who is the only child I have, points the remote at my head as if to change my mind. To be abducted by the History Channel is to leave the room to pull another beer from the root cellar, then return to see a map flashed on screen, the country as it used to be, veins pulsing westward across America, before those veins began shutting down with arteriosclerosis. Buck-skinned settlers, just a century away from fast food and microwave dinners. My daughter points at the screen, and I tell her that's a Conestoga wagon. She points at the Native Americans, and I say at one time they were called Indians. And keep watching. Soon there'll be a massacre. Which of the warring actors will die is a question that keeps both of us watching. Death pending but for a commercial's intervention. As we await her mother who lives in another part of the city and will soon be crossing the prairie to pick up her daughter. The horse she'll leave tied just outside, ready to canter. All right, who the hell did I say followed me? Stephen, you're up.
Okay, and I'm getting old, so I can't remember whether I read this one poem last month or not, but and after that I have a high bun that was published in the High Bun Journal because I just couldn't resist given the evening. All right, the first one is called Hope. I was looking for a dream. I thought I had one left, tucked away in heart's closet, hidden beneath the various deaths and reciprocated hurts. I looked for it the way you look for that morning drink, that last beer to keep your hands from trembling in the light. And finally, there it is, behind the celery and rotten lettuce in the fridge, and you're grateful it's so cold, and you consume it greedily, careful not to waste a drop. But when you're done, you're terrified, because now there's really nothing left. And the high bun is called Once We Ate Clams for Breakfast. Little necks and cherry stones, bushels and bushels. My father slid the knife into each hinge and cracked the spine, and as he did, we three kids pretended each mollusk cried out in pain. My brother and sister and I knew what it was like to be broken. The clams tasted briny, like sweat, like my father perspiring in the hot August sun at low tide in the Long Island Sound, raking them in. He was happy harvesting clams, but happier opening them, happy as he heard the satisfying snap, and happy as he cut the living thing out of its shell to be consumed, perhaps with butter or a dash of Tabasco to burn the mouth, penance for the life he took. We all sat that Saturday morning, watching cartoons, devouring clams and discarding the shells, useless now to protect anything. When I remember that day, I think of Saturn eating his children. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, then thank you. Wow. Somehow in tone and in the seriousness, if you will, of delving into the work, Amanda seems to be a nicely fitting next person to bring up to the screen here. So Amanda Russell.
Hello. Okay. So I'm going to read. Can you see me on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to read one that is ekphrastic, I guess. It's in conversation with a painting. I'll put the painting in the chat so that you guys can look at it if you want to. Thanks, everyone. It's by Magritte and it's called The Invisible World. This poem is called When I Am a Boulder. The clouds are boulders, cumulus as a cliff. They refuse to tell from whence they came. Each boulder sticks to every other. The giant floating mass obscures sun and horizon, threatens to drop and does not drop the threat. Journalists gather to question the ever-changed and ever-same. Geologists claim it's Precambrian. Optimists say somewhere the sun is rising and the boulder does not drop. New artists arrive every 12 minutes, set up easels and paints beneath. Climbers anchor in to scale it. Most days I turn my 1,000 backs, as one would leaving the house of childhood. Today I visit as if on pilgrimage, talk to the boulders as one only does with the grave of a father. Sure is the shadow stitched to my feet. I do not remember when it first arrived, nor do I know who has moved when it leaves. Thank you.
Yeah, again, just your poetry washes over, and it's just something to, so enjoy. Just from that, sort of the lingering after effect is always marvelous. Thank you, Amanda. Okay, so here's where we're at. John, you will be next. Apologies in front of trying to pronounce or Ilea. You can again correct when you come up. After that, there are a couple of other Zoomers here who did not respond about open mic, but we'll then ask if there's anybody that's been missed. But here we are. John, take it away.
Okay. That was fantastic, Amanda. I really like that poem. This is called Bel Air, Maryland, 1984. I'm not sure if it's correct to say sitting in the chair or sitting on the chair. My mother would know, would tell me with judgment of a woman who raised 4 boys and dressed for noteworthy funerals twice. I'd ask her, but we spread her ashes into Lake Michigan a few years ago after that virus swept through the nursing home like a fire riding the winds, cresting a ridge. We lived in a small town where crime happened sometimes. My mother's billfold stolen from her purse just inside our front door, but no murders except for my senior year when 4 met their ends. 1 was a lover's spat. That's how the gays are, I said. But remember, I was 17 and hopped up on weed and booze and redneck nomenclature. But the other three, 3 husbands with outstanding loans, couldn't pay the devil when the sun rose. Their wives, all mothers, face down in their own blood. A kid comes home from school and can't stop screaming. Years before all that, before I was pulled from my mother's womb with forceps that clipped my upper lip, someone shot out our upstairs bathroom light as my oldest brother slept in the next room over. The policeman asked my father, "Do you have any enemies?" And I loved my father, but even I know, sleep with another man's wife, best stock up on light bulbs. Mom sat in or on her chair, the blue one, every day, every night, sat there by the front door, stumping out Benson and Hedges in a crystalline ashtray, tearing through library books while her children lit firecrackers and ripped down fences, while her husband sat in or on his folding chair in the study, drinking scotch, arranging stamps, tweezers in a magnifying glass, arranging by country, by watermarks. The night after the fourth murder made the news, rain like a monsoon, me and a girl's car in our driveway, parked just outside the study window. I never did work up the nerve to kiss her. And thank you.
Well, that's excellent. The realism of the poetry that underpins the way in which it carries the listener and certainly the reader along is really excellent. And so again, that the narrative element that makes all that flow, just really well done, John. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ken.
Ilea.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Okay, 1 second, just 2 seconds. Okay, here we go. You might not be able to see me because my screen keeps, my internet's not the best here. Let me try it one more time. It keeps kind of freezing up on me tonight.
Well, if it doesn't come through,
Yeah, it's
with the
usually better
video,
when I
we can
don't show my
hear.
picture.
Yeah, your voice
But that's okay.
perfect. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, I got it. It seems like it's working for a second. Okay, can't fathom a letter unopened. That's the title. The letter waits on the counter, sealed with frayed edges, its ink bleeding out unseen. Its folds hold stories of a kid's best days, a testament of love that never wavered. So little time, so much given. In his last moments, alone, he was not forgotten. On my way home, when I received the call, go immediately to the veterinarian. I knew there wouldn't be any echoes of Paul's. Roy never left my side. His loyalty never led me astray, protected me every single day, and stood watch over my own children. Billy ran into the street. Roy, without a moment of pause, selflessly took the hit, giving his whole life to protect my boy. I rushed from the vet, Roy's lifeless body held close in my arms, wrapped in unconditional sacrifice. The overwhelming void left crumpled me. The tech called out, "Ma'am, the death certificate." I guess she figured it best to send it in the mail. And I have a shorter second poem. Thank you. I see the green harmony of lush grass and the tops of trees. I see deer with fawns and grasshoppers hopping from logs. I see squirrels squirreling away their nuts for another day. I see the brook racing to wash itself clean from debris. Looking around, I see other people. I see them driving, disregarding the beauty of the forest. I see them turning a blind eye to their fellow man and mean to their own kids. I see them paying no mind to the needy and lavishly posting their greed. I see them taking no heed to the pollution clogging upstreams. Looking inward, I see the impact of attention. I see the beauty of a single dew droplet. I see the steam swirls arising from my cup of tea. I see the glistening rainbow of a Tuesday rain. I see the vastness of sky, the footsteps of many, and the world longing for its praise. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. You got hearts floating above Linette's head. I don't know.
Thank you.
I think she just ran out of heart. It's all the heart's gone there. Look at that. You brought it all out of her. The the brevity of the lines, or the impact of that, the way it builds, is again really well done. So conscious of itself in how and what the impact should be, and you really brought that off. Thank you. And did I do quasi justice to pronouncing your name, or where was I?
It's just Aaliyah. Aaliyah.
Aaliyah. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, do return so I can pronounce it. Should I ever be graced with a hosting spot again? Okay, so there were a couple of Zoomers who did not sort of respond to the question of wanting to be on the open mic. Is there anybody I'd missed and wants to step up now, or as they say in the marriage vows, forever hold your peace? Mike, aka Greg Carell, or vice versa, do you want to sign us out on this?
I want to thank everybody for coming. Ken, thank you very much. I want to thank Julian, Tom, Joann. You guys are awesome as always, making CAPS First Friday the unique thing it is. Wherever you folks were coming in from, thank you. We couldn't do CAPS if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you very much. I do want to make one announcement. We're going to try something new. It's only going to be for 3 months, April, August, and December. When we started doing Third Thursday, it began as just an open mic and a salon, and then we started doing a featured reading. So that kind of cut it in half. But what we're going to do now is April 8th, every second Tuesday, April 8th, August 12th, and December 9th. That will be total open mic, salon style thing. So if you want to mark your calendars, it's April 8th, August 12th, December 9th. It'll be up on the website. And I want to remind everybody that I'll be reading on March 20th, Thursday, March 20th. And on April 4th, Janet Kaplan, Ethan Sirotako, and Victoria Riedel will be reading for First Friday in April. So on behalf of Ken and Craig and myself, I want to thank everybody here.
Hey, Mike, I have an announcement.
Go for it.
Coming in the May issue of South Florida Poetry Journal, in our interview section, we have interviewed Mike himself. So you can, it's a regular old in-text written interview, and I think it went pretty well. So I'll remind everybody as we approach the date, but yeah, we look forward to that.
Thank
Mike,
you, Lenny. Thank you,
Poet
Lenny.
laureate Mike Jurkovic. Yes, indeed.
Oh, come on, wait.
Mike, when did you say Victoria Riedel was going to be?
April 4th.
April 4th? Okay.
Yeah. First Friday.
And here or?
Yeah, on Zoom, yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
Super.
And the other two features are really, really good. And new to CAPS, but they've read around the area, particularly in Woodstock, and up in that neck of the woods. So it's gonna be a really good lineup.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. So everybody, if you want to say a few final words, or else we'll just call it an evening. So,
well, I will say that I had a dream last night, and Mike, I interviewed you there too, so I'll put that up online as soon as I can. Okay.
Oh,
gonna
that's
work out.
frightening. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was.
And Mike, you're reading on March 20th.
Yeah, third Thursday right here.
Okay. All right. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just want to
Very
say
well.
thanks again to all the features. They were really, really fabulous, and it was such a treat.
Carrie,
Really.
join us anytime you can.
Yeah, I'll be back for sure. I loved it.
Thank you.
It was a great poem, Carrie. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
You too. Take care of yourself.
Take care.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Julian, have a good day. Tom,
Bye.
Joann,
Yes,
Ken, thank
you,
you.
Julian.